Howdy, folks. What's going on? This is Outlaw Hatfield back at you one more time. Let's see what we got going on tonight. So far, the only one I see out there is Gunpowder Beauty. So hopefully that will change shortly. With me tonight, of course, is GWebs. G, how are you, my man? It has been a long time.
Oops, I had to mute. Good. Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry I missed last week, but I was honored to be invited back as a guest as you're revamping the show again. Good to see you back.
Well, it's good to be back, man. It's been way too long. I've actually missed this. I have, uh, I have been trying to get back on here for quite a while. Just couldn't get internet access where I'm at. And now all of a sudden I found out that I can do all this from a cell phone. So here I am. I am back. We have Gizzard out there in Gunpowder Beauty. How are you two?
When you say doing
Uh,
it from a cell phone, though, you're doing it on a laptop. As far as the StreamYard service that we're using to be in the same room together and stream it out to YouTube, but then you're using your cell phone internet for the laptop to connect to the internet with, right?
no, I am literally on my cell phone.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. So I thought you're looking at a laptop. You're just looking at your cell phone right now.
No, I'm literally on a cell phone using data, no less, to do this broadcast. It is amazing.
Yeah, that
What
sounds great.
technology has come a long way apparently in the last couple of years. Before, when I was doing this, you couldn't do all of this from a cell phone. You had to use a computer.
To host the rooms, at least we could always jump in a cell.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah, I think it's amazing. Hey, Kingpin, we see you out there. How are you, sir? The Texas Outlaw. There's two of us now. Um, so, G, what's been going on with you, man? Any news on your end? Anything new?
Well, obviously, since last time we talked, all kinds of stuffs have happened, but no, we're just got done with the gun rights policy conference. Watching that uh, be virtual this year, where all the 2A gun owners' rights organizations get together and brainstorm and offer sit reps to let everyone know what's up. We checked that out, and of course now there's going to be a bunch of after action type conversations about both the topics and everything, and the event itself, and the virtual uh, way that it was held. And then we have another virtual version of a 2A event coming up in October, I think. Somebody in the chat will know. I think it's October 24th, but I might be wrong, for the 2A rally. The 2A rally that was in DC last year was supposed to be a one-time event, and it's now changed and become an annual event. And since this year's difficult to get permits in DC, they decided to make this year, the second year, a virtual event. So it'd be interesting then to kind of pre, uh, I guess preview or whatever it's called, that event, and then of course watch how it happens. And it's, you're one of the people who's comfortable and fluent. We're sitting here on a phone having a conversation, and you've been doing this in spite of challenges of your own. And it's good to see people who maybe are focused on blogs or books or radio shows or other formats get some experience with this internet tool, because that's all it is a tool. It gives us another layer of ability, right? So anyway, that part has been pretty fun.
It,
Yeah, I can't
it,
tell.
challenging it can be.
How's that?
And if it hadn't been for others letting me know that the changes that had happened, that I could actually go live from this cell phone. I didn't know I could do this. I had a chat with Ghost Tactical. For those of you who's wondering who Ghost is, uh, informed me that I could do this, and I jumped in on a show with him and Clover, and I was like, wow, okay, this gives me the opportunity to get back to doing what I love to do. Hey, G23 Kingpins out there, how are you guys doing tonight? Um, Guys, if you're wondering who I'm talking to, if you don't know, it's GWebs. A lot of people talk about being grassroots when it comes to 2A rights. I don't think there's anybody out there more grassroots than GWeb. He has walked it for many years. I lovingly call him the godfather of gun channels because, in my opinion, he is. Um, he has walked a many mile doing this whole two-way thing, trying to keep our rights right where they are and trying to improve our situation with our rights. And I say two-way, but he's into our rights all the way around. He's pro-Constitution, and I love him for it. Um, I will say that without GWebs and his influence, there would be a whole lot of gun channels out there right now that wouldn't exist, mine included. So, G, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for your contributions.
Yeah, right on. It's been a pleasure watching people participate. 'Cause this is, really just the evolution of the First Amendment, right? All the fun, all the technology that the country makes is guns. We make the same technology and communication. So it's fun to see people participate and jump on board.
So speaking of grassroots, do you have anything coming up? Anything new? Anything that's got you excited?
Well, I don't know if any specific thing as much as we were kind of talking off air, waiting for the thing to start or whatever. But looking forward to how I don't want to say, well, how we come out of this. One of my sayings this year is that, remember we live in cycles. There's that saying about hard times make hard people and hard people make good times and good times make, or wait, I don't know. You know how it goes. There's cycles though. And, we're living in that cycle and we're either getting hard or we're going to be creating hard people. And there's a lot of growth and innovation and movement that happens. So, I'm really looking forward. We've got a lot of potential here politically, technologically, like you say, grassroots, like community wise, we have a lot of potential. There's lots of fun things on the horizon and so much more ways to talk about it and communicate it, to experience it than ever before, that very little monopoly on the conversation or on the direction. So I'm really looking forward to what we get to see next.
If you personally could dictate what happens next in two-way, what would it be? What would you say would be the most important next step?
If I had that power, I would immediately remove the power from any one person to be able to dictate what happens.
That's a good answer.
But no, I don't think there is a perfect next step. I think growth and evolution and discovery leads to whatever's next. So you got to appreciate where we are in time. We could have been born at any other point in time. We're being born now where we get to experience the birth of 3D printing. What is that going to do to guns? What are all these new gun owners coming in and understanding a world without NFA? What's that like? We've never had new gun owners come in droves and understand what NFA even is. Not that all gun owners do, but the young gun owners who play video games understand really quick what they can and can't have. And the first question they ask is why. And it's no longer I'm going to scratch my head and wonder about something that happened in 1934. Immediately, that in 1934, this happened, and this is in 1960 or 1986, this other thing happened, and that's why. That means there's two things to remove, and you've got your video game guns, and that's a neat potential. That's what we're about to live through.
I have always said, in fact, the Gun Snob put out a video earlier, and I made the same comment on his video. In my opinion, I think that the only thing that should keep a person from owning any gun is how deep your wallet is, if you can afford that gun or not. And, that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But in my opinion, if you can afford it in this country, you should own it, according to our Constitution, according to the Second Amendment. because anything else is an infringement.
Yeah, I'm down. I want to live in a world where we're not afraid of somebody for owning property that might be scary to somebody, maybe. And I want to live in a world where the media doesn't dictate what might be scary or how something might be used wrong.
Well, media is the enemy of freedom at this point. It's not always been that way, but at this point, media is the enemy to freedom because they're bought and paid for by people who want to take that freedom from us. You there, G?
Yeah, just reading the. Like I'm simulcasting on Instagram. Just holding my phone up to the screen here, and somebody said, Brownie said, metal 3D printing is complicated and awesome. And yeah, I'm really. I mean, look how we have 3D printing. Literally, look how long it was since it took to get to 3D printing. So we're just really at the beginning of a crazy curve. We'll have replicators like Star Trek before our grandkids probably.
Could you imagine that? Just
we can.
A machine that you could type in the specs that you want. 5 minutes later, you've got a working model.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Who was it that I was listening to? An interesting interview on YouTube. There was an interview with, I'll remember who I was talking to in a second, but his concept was as soon as you get a machine that can replicate, then the first thing you do is say, make another one of yourself. So now a replicating machine can make itself. And, if it works, it depends on what this theoretical machine uses as material. If it's like a garbage dump for the molecules, or if it's just air, it kind of depends on which theoretical version of science fiction you're talking about. But really, it's the concept that as soon as a machine is smart enough, you just tell it to make itself. And then that's the end of scarcity. That's the end of people fighting over limited resources. And that becomes a very different type of world. And we have that potential with nanotechnology and the way that printers are moving at speed. At least we have that potential. It's not dire.
Yeah. And once we get to that point, think about what that would do to something like housing.
Yeah, exactly. You could live anywhere. You could live in the middle of a desert because it wouldn't matter. You could live at the top of a mountain. Somebody's asking on YouTube or on Instagram where we're streaming. We're on Outlaw Hatfield channel on YouTube live.
And you're more than welcome to show up, say hi. Hey, Jamie V, how are you? I think I know who Jamie is. But yeah, I mean, that would put an end to so many issues of our society. Homelessness could be a thing of the past. Machine build 10 houses and 10 houses lined up right there. But how far are we from that kind of technology, though?
Yeah, that's true. But at least I'm just saying there's multiple paths ahead of us. And if we're talking, what's next and what to look forward to, I don't have any specific, like I say, there's the 2-way virtual rally. I guess this is the next thing on the calendar. That's interesting. Actually, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because after that in November would be Wanamaker. And I don't know of all the people watching out there. You got a bunch of people watching live right now. Do we know what's happening with Wanamaker?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything personally. As far as I know, the next event that I do know about will be SHOT Show next year.
That's still on, and that's January 19th or something.
So as far as Wanamaker, I'm not real sure about that. Any of the other gun shows, I'm not real sure about that. And
I follow quite a few of the gun show promoters on Instagram. It's a way to keep track of, when they're making announcements and stuff. So there are shows happening, but not everywhere. So I think it's Utah has gun shows starting again. Florida, I think, had an announcement that they've got a show. So they're coming back slowly.
Yeah.
We were talking ammo scarcity before we went live, and what happens ammo scarcity kills gun shows. Like that's the state of gun shows today is the result of ammo scarcities in the past. These cycles that we lived through uh, devastate the community in ways. When these things just ravage us, when we just allow things to happen to us and we witness them and we just do nothing more than observe, then what happens is the collectors and the other people that would gather as gun shows, the political, the collector, the investment person, the clubs, everybody that used to gather. Gun shows used to be sort of a online version or a real life version of what we've got online with the gun community. The scarcity waves that we've had in the past turned gun shows into a desperate attempt to offload your old ammo, at outrageous prices to suckers, and then the ammo distributors who don't have brick and mortars to, bring in truckloads by the pallet and distribute it efficiently. And that turns into a bread line, an ammo bread line, instead of the dynamics that we used to have at the gun shows. And that's probably going to start. I'm assuming we're going to see that since it's happened every single time we've had ammo scarcities. We'll probably see gun shows come back to that situation, and it's different this year, of course, because of the weird situation with governments telling businesses when and where they can open. So it's possible that gun shows will be a pressure relief for small businesses. So maybe we'll see a new dynamic at gun shows with small businesses trying to squeeze in there, even though probably 70 to 90% of the traffic at the show, the audience will be there, the attendees will be there with,
the major companies,
hand trucks, getting cases of ammo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kingpin had an interesting question for you. Do you think the tone at the big gun shows or events will be turning more political in the future?
No, only because of past experience. They never have. Even through the assault weapons ban, they never turned political. Through any of the Republican or Democratic presidents, most of the time, gun show promoters know enough. If it's a large enough gun show promoter, they know that customers count and politics just interfere with customers. So it's like religion or other things. You leave that stuff at home. So there's very few gun shows where you're going to see political stuff. And if you do, it's typically for somebody who's like, I don't know, a friend of the promoter or like somebody local who's like running for dog catcher. It's hardly ever Trump things or stuff like that. Maybe recently, but and you can always find an exception to a rule. But if you got a gun show with 400 tables, I'd be surprised if you see more than 2 tables with a bunch of political stuff. It's just nobody wants that stuff around their guns. We want to just guns, right? It's like seeing that at a dog show. You don't go to a dog show and see a bunch of political stuff. You don't go to a car show and see a bunch of political stuff. There might be one guy who has his car all done up like Trump or Biden, I guess. But most people, leave that stuff at home or in the car.
Well, me personally, I like to keep politics as far away from my guns as I can get it. So there's been enough politics with guns. I'd like to see that go the other direction for quite a while. But Midnight says that the outdoor gun show is apparently on. It's not on the farm shows website, but Dirt Trigger, he said, whatever that is. So
he's saying somebody that was scheduled to attend is still planning on it. He says, I think.
Apparently.
And from what I understand, that's kind of indoor-outdoor, but I don't know. Who knows how they're going to play this politically past the election? That'll have some influence, obviously, on people's level of panic and concern. So if everything calms down, in other words, that one's until February. That one's usually in early February, right? So if everything calms down in December, then all of a sudden we might see next year's stuff just start popping right back up like normal again, right? If everything is crazy weird, then we'll probably see more tendency or whatever of putting out dates.
Well, you was talking earlier about a virtual conference or event that you're supposed to be going in or you're involved with. What would be the chances of?
I'm only involved but I'm going to watch it and I'm aware
No.
of it. But, you know.
What would be the chances of a virtual gun show?
I think that would be awesome. I don't think you're going to see it in the come from gun shows. In my experience, the gun show promoters are not interested in change or evolution of their mediums too much. It took them a long time just to even get online with the websites that basically only give you a coupon and a directions and a date. You know, like they really aren't interested in doing too much stuff. Crossroads is the one of the big promoters in the West states. They do the biggest gun show in the West, which happens in December each year, and they do shows each month normally in California, Arizona, Utah, and maybe somewhere else. But you know, multiple states out here. They just recently, oh, I don't know, this year for sure, but you know, months ago, did an effort to do something online, but it was more of like an index or more of a table of contents of the people that would normally be at the show. It wasn't, I don't know. I think I'm assuming what you're thinking about is like a million other ways that we could do it live, or you could have people show up and walk around and bid on things. Like there's so many ways you could have a gun show virtually that would be awesome. I haven't seen anything like that. I think the world could handle it. I don't know if it's the time for it or not, but I definitely think the world could handle it. I just don't think gun show promoters are the ones that we're going to see it come from.
No, well, I think you're right. I think the way this is probably would happen is if like a bunch of small gun auction companies or whatever got together and said, "Hey, this is a way we can all make some money, with our product and get it to a wider audience."
And stay in business.
Yeah.
A lot of people only went to gun shows. That was their thing. So,
And in a situation like we've been facing this year, how many shops have closed doors because they just couldn't get patrons? They couldn't get people shopping inside their stores.
or maybe they can't open, yeah.
Yeah, and that could have saved some businesses. Just that thought. Just something that they could do.
This does come and go. So, I mean, I hear you, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just going to play devil's advocate. But, if we would have had a virtual online gun show 6 years ago, then, yeah, that shop might have never closed now. So, again, we're in a cycle. And if shops are going to die now, it's because they, I just want to sound heartless, but it's because they didn't have defenses against a long, weird shortage like this. And going forward, I think we'll see shops that are resilient or more resilient to this kind of situation, right? Just out of cause and effect. They see this, they say, hey, let's never let this happen again. Or hey, we lived through it. What was it that got us to live through it? Let's amplify that.
It's nature in effect and reality. It's the strong survive.
You see an arms list is like a virtual gun show. Yeah, and gun broker. But you guys pay more attention than I do. Have those sites ramped up or amped up? Has there been more activity? Other than people browsing and watching the inflated prices, are there more sales going through? Are there more auctions? Are they being used more?
I honestly don't spend a whole lot of time on those sites anymore. To me, it's just not worth the hassle.
Or if it's a hobby, you're not gonna like. I don't pay attention either. I'm aware that they're there. If I needed them, I'd use them as a resource. But I don't go look at them unless I never go look at them.
Like I said, I don't either.
Bragging. You would think somebody like a gun broker, if they were at like 4 times their normal activity, and hundreds of millions of dollars in sales are going through, you'd think they'd be bragging about it. But at the same time, if they were truly busy, they wouldn't even have time to brag, right? They'd be all hands on deck, just making sure things work.
Well, it's gun industry is changing, and has been for a long time. I mean, it's no big secret. There's more and more people shopping online these days, so you see very few brick and mortar shops out there, especially the smaller ones. That's why I loved what you were doing. When you were doing the Lupo tour, driving around the country, hitting up all these small little independent shops here and there, and out of the way places. That was amazing to me.
Well, let's talk about the next step of that then. So that's not over. That's the funnest, one of my most, oh, this is weird to say. One of the things I like most about the gun industry, I guess, or the community is the shops, right? I grew up in gun shops and I dig a good gun shop. And I'm interested in seeing the diversity, the different types of gun shops, because there's some stuff that I would have never thought about that are gun shops, right? So the next step would be to keep doing it, and I'd like to get one of them 360 cameras where it's kind of like a bubble, and you just set it. It's like a bubble you set on a post, like on a stick, and you just stand there. You take a quick picture, but it takes a picture in every single direction, up and down, left, right, everywhere, and then the picture that you take, you can scroll through it. When you look at it on a computer or something, on the website or on Google Maps or something, you can just move your mouse around and kind of like if you're in some kind of virtual world or a game or something. So it's very much like being on Google Maps or something when you're on the ground looking around at something. So taking that kind of picture is just a different type of camera, right? You just take a different kind of camera and you push a button and you've taken that picture. The way Google Maps, right? The system that Google uses for maps, the way that works is once you've got 50 accredited 360 pictures, then you can post straight to Google Maps. You're now verified and you can post straight to Google Maps. So my goal is going to be to get a 360 camera, get however many pictures I need so that every time I go into a gun shop, I can put immediately without any approval from Google because it'll already be approved. I want to be able to go into a gun shop and ask them if it's okay, and then take a picture of that gun shop in 360 so that our grandkids can see what a gun shop looked like in 2021. And then, I mean, some gun shops do that, but how cool would it be to go back and look at some of the gun shops when I was a kid? Were awesome, like floor to ceiling, just weird stuff and interesting stuff. Different parts of the store were laid out differently. There was some neat stuff. So that would be the goal, is to go around, kind of archive them like that, and then hopefully that begins a tradition of doing it every once in a while, because I don't have to do it. Anybody with a camera can do it. And as cameras get better, they'll be taking better and better virtual pictures like that. But then, I don't know, I kind of got that idea to amplify the whatever results of the tour so that we get something that's infinitely interesting. Like you could go to that shop 20 years from now, look at that picture and just browse around in there for 20 minutes thinking about all this stuff. Can you imagine what it's going to be like in 20 years looking at the prices of a knife or a magazine or a box of ammo today?
Our children, our grandchildren will never know what it was like to walk into a gun shop and in the middle of the floor you see a huge barrel plumb full of old surplus rifles, or 2 or 3 barrels full of surplus rifles that you could pick up for 2, 3, 400 bucks.
Well, I guess it depends on when you're talking. When I was a little kid, those buckets were $75, or anything in here,
Yeah,
100 or something.
exactly. And our children will never know that feeling and the smell. Do you remember the
Hold on.
smell?
That's not true though, because all those guns exist. So these were guns that came out of world wars, right? In inventories that were designed to supply just tons and tons of troops, right? They either never got used or they got pulled back and put into arsenals and then eventually sold to us for recreational investment purposes. So all those guns exist. They're in the hands of collectors. Now, I don't want to be morbid, but the greatest generation or whatever, not the greatest generation, the boomers, the kids of the greatest generation, I guess, the boomers, though, the biggest generation is about to keel over. And when they do, some of those kids are going to inherit those guns and appreciate them. But how many of those kids are going to go, ew, or and then take them to the nearest gun shop? So I just want to say, I don't think we've seen the end of gun shops full of surplus. I think what we're going to find is that when you want surplus, there's going to be gun shops that have amazing stuff because they can specialize in it, and they're going to start buying collections and buying, what's the word, estates, right? And that stuff will get shifted around. Some of it will stay in collections, but I think we're going to potentially see all kinds of crazy, interesting guns back on the shelves. And I think there might be appreciation for those sporterized guns that we all desperately tried to turn back into crude versions of originals. Like somebody might want their grandpa's 1950 conversion when he didn't care about that whatever and chopped the wood off of it and took it to his friend with the mill and they turned it into a crude hunting rifle because he didn't want to pay a lot for it. Like somebody might really appreciate that kind of stuff. We might see a gun shop just full of that kind of, what do we call them, Bubba guns.
And you know what? Those things, those old cut down rifles make pretty good hunting rifles. They've taken a lot of game.
Yeah, I always hunted with a Springfield because I figured if I'm going to shoot a deer, I might as well shoot it with something that might have killed Nazis.
There you go. I see we have a few more guests to show up here. We have Ghost Tactical. Hey, Ghost, how are you, Bubba? Screaming Skull Saloon. That's an interesting name, and I do like that. That is cool. G23 is out there.
Spelling. That's Screaming Skull Salon. You're misreading.
Oh, Salon. Yes. I'm sure whoever that appreciates that.
That's why
very much so.
Skull. They're like, this hairdo's wrong.
Well, he's probably going to start screaming at us in a minute. It's Saloon, you idiots. That's okay. I'm used to being called an idiot. So, what are you planning on next year? Maybe doing another tour?
Yeah, I mean, weird. That would be, ideal. Get back out there and see, especially with the way things are, seeing things open again and be there to, I don't know if they have grand openings or if they just, I don't know. We've got a situation where they sold how many guns, right? And you can't just go buy new guns. So maybe this is the time to get a indoor range going, or maybe this is the year to upgrade the cigar section of the store. Who knows what kind of stuff these stores are going to start doing, or maybe virtual stuff. These 9mm shooters like to shoot lasers, so we might see all kinds of crazy laser scenario type of things going in again. We saw those when they first got invented, but they got to be. I mean, I was amazed years ago. I didn't even know. In 2012, it blew my mind how cool those. You walk around with a little laser Glock, and
laser Glock.
Good guys and bad guys jump out of stuff. No, literally, like you walk around with a real, seems like a functioning gun in this, and they got movie screens. Anyway, that was neat years ago, so it's got to be amazing by now. And you see those in shops here and there, but maybe this is the time we're going to see shops evolve a bit and give themselves some buffer so that they're not all just gun shops. I don't know. There's a shop in just between Vegas and the border of Utah. It's called Guns and Guitars, and you walk in, your right half of the store is guitars, your left half of the shop is guns, and their business card is sort of a heavy plastic business card, and you pop 4 guitar picks out of it.
Huh. Can't beat that.
Yeah, pretty neat. So you might see stuff like that.
You was talking about old gun shops earlier. Do you remember that smell that those old gun shops had?
Oh,
You'd walk through the door and it would hit you. It was a mixture of Hops number 9 gun oil and old wood.
Yep, leather.
Yeah, and leather.
Some kind of gross, musty something from something surplus that's, molding or rotting in some way.
Yep.
And a lot of times, back in the day at least, a dog and then a bunch of dudes, because there's nothing but a bunch of dudes in there. Half the time you're in there hunting or doing something, so it ain't necessarily.
And the cigar smoke.
It ain't like walking into a salon.
And the cigar smoke, because there was always somebody smoking a cigar somewhere.
And that's the kind of stuff that would linger, right? Because back in the day, people don't realize, but you just smoked wherever. Like, that's not even a thing now, but you would be smoking in your car and get out smoking and walk into the gun shop smoking and look around smoking and then leave smoking. Smell like another cigarette.
Yep.
So you didn't cigarettes back in the day. Like, cigarette smoke was just negative, but you could smell a pipe or a cigar once in a while because that was so different.
Yep. And there'd always be the old timer sitting at the at the back wall telling old war stories
Well, and
about the
we
20
got potential
point
there.
buck he missed.
I think we got some potential there too. And I don't know, because there's gun shops that kind of discourage people hanging around. I've definitely been to those kind of shops. They'd rather you just get in and get out and mind your business. But then I've been to shops where they put quite a bit of effort into making it appealing. You're giving people all the incentive in the world to just hang out and make that their place to meet up. And again, when politics become a thing, and hopefully as people uh, slow down on the social, the amount of time we spend worrying about stuff that's way beyond our actual influence, right? Then maybe the gun shop will turn into like the cigar store or the bar or wherever else that people congregate. But it's people with similar mindset, people with similar interests. They start hanging out at a gun shop, and you start seeing a lot more solid political action being taken, grassroots. You see more people showing up, not just sporadically. And then once you've got, I don't want to call it like whatever you call, like, once you got groups or places like that and there's multiple of them, then it's easy for them to communicate with each other and go, hey, our group is doing this. You in? Yeah, we're in. We're doing this. You in? Yeah. And now both of them are amplified, right? And doom on the antis if they think they can, who doesn't want to go hang out at a gun shop? It's just not something people do right now. But if that started being a thing, like that could be super powerful.
And you know what? And it goes back to community. There was always certain spots in the community where people of like mindedness would gather and chit chat. Gun shops was one of those places back in the day. The hunters would go there and they'd brag about what they shot or what they missed. People would go in and talk about their new favorite gun that they had just bought or one that they are looking to buy. And you don't see that a whole lot anymore. It happens, but not like it used to. And you don't get that sense of camaraderie like you did at those old brick and mortar gun stores.
Well, it was a different time, so it wasn't unusual because you would also go to the hardware store and hang out. You'd go to the restaurant and hang out. You'd go to the library and hang out. So it wasn't as though gun shops were unique in that sense. They're unique compared to now. But to lay that down there, right? So first it was you had something like your wife was going to go to the beauty parlor or whatever. You're going to drop her off. What else are you going to do? You're not going to sit there playing on your phone back in the day. You went to the gun shop and you hung out for a little while. It was a thing to do. So, people did that more often, so that you can't force people to do something that they've never done before, which most people living now have never done that, right? We think of stores as a place to go collect your commodities and then leave. And then a unique store will have a classroom, or a unique store will have like one of those little coffee. I'm thinking of a couple of stores I've seen that have like a little pit couch and a coffee maker, and there's always fresh coffee and there's cups and they want you to stay, and there's magazines on a table, and those kind of stores are few and far between. And even when they exist, unless there's a bunch of people that actually use that area and they're inviting and welcoming, you know what I mean? Like that's just a couch over there. That doesn't mean nothing. So it's just a matter of getting back into the pattern or back into what's the word? Like the trend of it or whatever, making it a thing. And I could really see that happening. You've seen these stores where they throw axes and stuff, right? Or these, whatever they are, like not really a restaurant. But so there's interest. People have an interest in gathering. As you were saying that, I was thinking, back in the day, you'd meet at a range or something. But who goes to the range? You're either a hunter getting ready, you're a competition shooter getting ready, or you're a recreational shooter shooting the breeze, just hanging out on the weekend, right? And often, at least at my experience with ranges, the recreational people go on the weekends, and all the people that have something to do go during the week when they're not going to get bothered with all the recreational people. So really at the range, you're talking to like-minded people. You're talking to other people that are either seriously working on their marksmanship or people that are hanging out on the weekend, instead of water skiing, they're shooting. But it wasn't a lot of diversity. The gun shop, you talk to a cop, you talk to a competition shooter, you talk to a hunter, you talk to somebody who's never shot a gun before, you talk to somebody who's selling tacos, like, you know what I mean? Like the gun shop was certainly a melting pot for the community back in the day. Gun shows were too, but a gun show was only once in a while and you had to go to it. pay to get in, and you had to be there at the same time as somebody else. Where a gun shop's in your neighborhood, if you hang out there, you got all the chance in the world to meet new people.
Well, we've had a few more join us here. We've got Rich White, Night Strike is out there. Smeggy showed up of all people. Hey, hello, Smeggy. How are you, my friend? Two Live Moves out there. I am so glad you folks decided to stop by and say hello. I used to be able to speak English. Like I said, I'm glad you folks decided to stop by and spend some time with us tonight. We appreciate you. What other interesting shops have you run across in your travels lately, G?
Well, lately nothing, but in general, I don't know. You'd have to give me more. There's a lot of shops. I think it's 400 or something. So interesting in what direction? There's definitely a lot of interesting, or a lot of them would qualify as interesting, I guess.
Which one would you say had the most interesting lineup of firearms, the most unique?
Okay, so the most unique is going to be in Arizona that Cheryl Todd and Dan Todd have AZ Firearms, and that's a good opportunity to talk about theirs because they've changed their shop and it's bigger than it was. It was just a very small shop, probably 1,000 square feet, and configured in sort of a T shape. So it was like an offshoot little room and then the main room, and they had literally floor to ceiling every square inch, guns piled on each other, and in a very organized but chaotic way, if that makes sense. Like no gun was marking each other or knocking into each other, but every square inch was used, and it was so organic. It wasn't like grids or something. It was very fun to go in there and experience. But they had everything from pin fire guns that were in a ring right on your finger to multiple tripod mounted belt fed things to walls of black FALs and 308s, like real black guns, rifles, and then like 37 millimeter rocket launcher type of stuff that looks crazy, and then everything like black powder, blunderbusses and revolvers, everything modern and new, like literally a little sample of everything. So I'd say that was probably the shop that I can think of stands out as being so having such different stuff. There was another shop in Texas, in San Antonio, that I guess went out of business. The guy sold it, but that one, can't think of the name of it. Remember, it was red and blue and white in the middle, and I remember going to it. I just can't remember the name of it, but maybe like Stars and something guns. That one was pretty decent too, and it was even bigger, just minus the belt-fed stuff. They didn't have anything like machine guns or anything like that at that one. But I would say I'm picking two out of a whole slice. There's probably, if I had to sit here and think about it, I could probably come up with 40 shops that have good selection. It's rare though. I think that's only 10% of the shops if you think about it. Of all the shops I've been to, most shops focus on a thing: CCW, hunting, rifles, one of those things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of boring, actually, when you go to endless shops that just focus on CCW. I mean, you need to. It's like a commodity. It's like a gas station. You kind of have to have one. Not every gas station can be awesome, but every once in a while you find an awesome gas station.
Yep. So you're planning on getting back on the road, doing a little more driving, hitting up some more shops. Are you planning on coming east this year or next year?
Well, I go places, right? So I don't just drive around randomly. I'm not wealthy enough to just live on the road like that. So I go to a place. So I need to go to Connecticut to hit a bunch of museums, and then Florida to hit a bunch of museums. So at some point I'll be out east to do that stuff. And then I don't like driving halfway across, well, all the way across this continent and then driving right back. So when I drive out that way again, I'll hang out for a while. I would keep playing with the way that I do it too. And it kind of depends on the time of year. Obviously, weather is a factor and costs and stuff like that. But, depending on how I can finagle it, then yeah, my goal would be to get over there, spend some real time. Not that at some point I'm not going to be able to keep traveling. So hit as many of these things as possible so that I can go forward with other projects that I'd like to get some experience with, like the Colt collection in Connecticut. I'd like to see that before I start acting like I know about it, right? Or like one of the museums out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, you head south to Florida from there. You'll go right past me, stop in, say hi. If you need a place to stay, you're more than welcome. You know that.
Right on. Yeah, and then hopefully do some fishing.
Hey, that sounds like a plan.
I
I
drove
know
out
it.
in 2001, I guess. I kind of had nothing to do. I forgot what I was even doing, but I decided I had just bought this truck, and I decided that while I was still a brand new truck, I'm gonna do a road trip, and I used that as my excuse to do a road trip. But I did it. I wasn't doing internet or anything really at the time, so um, that was one of the things that got me into doing the internet. Actually, is taking all these pictures. But I had a digital camera, and I took a bunch of digital cameras fishing. I drove I-10 to Florida. Is that Tallahassee? I forget. And then you go north from there, and I drove that whole way just literally like a bum, just like driving until I saw a cool creek or a lake, and I'd stop and fish for a while without a license or nothing. I'd just get out and fish, and then book. I didn't really catch nothing. I was just doing it to do it, and that was pretty fun. So I don't know how you'd ever make money just moseying and fishing, but certainly was neat. I don't know about you, but I really like fishing holes. Like climbing down into a lake or a river or something. It's usually peaceful, and it's kind of like a little stolen piece of nature in the middle of chaos half the time, especially when it's right next to a highway or something. And then it's kind of like gambling or something, kind of like playing the lottery. You figure, what's the odds of somebody else stopping along this highway and fishing on this little creek, right? There's going to be some giant bass in here. There's going to be some giant gar or something crazy in here. I'm going to see alligator. Of course, I never saw nothing, but it was always fun to do.
I'm sure I could arrange you an alligator.
I tried. I stopped in Florida a couple of times where there was like signs like "Don't fish here. There's alligators." I'm like, God damn! I might as well say "Fish here" for me because I want to see a damn alligator. I never saw an alligator.
Oh, I tell you what, I can pretty much guarantee you I could take you to some places where you'll see some alligators.
What's the deal with alligators? Are they considered like a predator and you can just take them, or are they a pest?
Nope,
Take them?
nope. Unless they're a threat to you, you can't mess with them.
What if you see one and you go over and mess with it and it starts threatening you? Then you can fight back, or is it illegal?
Then I'd say you probably deserve what you get, G-Man.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick a small one first, and then see how that comes out, and then move to a bigger one.
Yeah, you do that. You do that. Let me know how that turns out for you.
I've heard if you get behind them and pull their one arm up behind their back, they give up. They tap out.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you'll have to ask Sarge about that because he's about the only one I know crazy enough to try to put an Indian deathlock on an alligator.
I'll fight an alligator. They only have energy for a little while, and then they don't have energy anymore. So the trick is to not die right at the beginning.
Yeah. Don't let it bite you until the end of the fight.
Yeah, like don't let it bite you on the neck right off the bat, and you're probably gonna be okay because you can punch it in the eyes and stuff. You'll win.
Yeah. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is this time of the show where I like to open it up for questions. So if anybody out there has a question for myself or GWebs, feel free to ask. You know the rules. There are certain questions I cannot answer. So be careful what you ask, especially if it involves my work. So, but if you got any questions, feel free to ask. We'll answer what we can. Yeah, there's a difference between a lizard and an alligator, GWebs.
Our lizards are tiny too. I seen a picture of a lizard on Instagram today that was like iguana, I guess. I'm guessing it was like one of them 3-4 foot long with their tail type of things.
Uh-huh.
Out here we have the little tiny ones that are like what you would buy in a pet shop when you're like a kid. Maybe 3 inches long or something. A big one is 3 inches long. Like a big one you can see. Most of the lizards, just in passing, they blend in so much you don't even see them. They're so small.
I ran across a lizard here about a month and a half ago. That was I guess he was 6-8 inches long. I mean, he was huge. And I was like, it was big enough to eat a snake.
Yeah, I'm okay with lizards. I don't have any problem with them.
I like lizards. I don't have a problem with alligators.
No, I
As long
wouldn't
as
either.
as long as they do them, and I'll do me, and we'll both be happy.
I don't have a problem with alligators, but I'm also not afraid of no alligator.
No, no, apparently not. Anybody that wants to wrestle an alligator has got my respect. You just go
I'm
right
not
ahead and you do
want
that.
to. I'm just willing to. Just putting it out there. I ain't gonna be pushed around by no alligator.
Yep. But yeah, man, I think you and I could have some fun doing some fishing. I tell you what we'll do is we'll start us a new thing. We'll do a YouTube fishing show.
Well, guns and no, that doesn't work. Bait and no, some kind of guns and fishing thing you could do. That would be kind of
Yeah.
neat. Fishing with somebody and just BS, run the camera while you're BSing, and then maybe take the clips out of it.
Yeah.
Um, that would be a kind of thing where you could go do that, film it, and then have collaboration with somebody and have them, what do you call it, help you edit and chop it down.
Guns and bass.
Bait and bullets. There you go.
Yeah, bait and bullets. That'll work.
Some bait.
Bait and bullets.
That works though, because those are both the renewable or the commodities that you have to keep buying.
Gators are part commie, says Kingpin.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't even have that kind of stuff in communist lands, do they? They have like,
No.
what do they have? They have little dogs like this and bears. They don't have anything else.
Yeah, they don't have
Oh, they have
alligators. And now there are some communist crocodiles. I will have to give Rich White. There are commie crocodiles.
where? Well, I guess in some countries that are communist, like China or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking Russia itself, but yeah.
No, no. Well, there's more than one communist country. GWebs. That's just the most prevalent at the moment. But as far as alligators, as far as I know, there's very few countries that actually have alligators compared to crocodiles.
So since we're going down this path and nobody's asking the other questions, you ever been to, what's the best pet shop you've ever been to?
You know, that's a good question. I honestly don't know.
It's a trick question because I had one in mind. So when I first moved out here to Arizona, I live in Tucson, but Phoenix is like an hour or something away. Back in the old days, it was an hour away because you could just drive and there wasn't a lot of traffic and you could drive faster. So we drive to Phoenix in a blink because Tucson's smaller than Phoenix, right? Especially I was much younger, so stuff to do in Phoenix or whatever. We knew people up there, so we ended up in Phoenix quite a bit. So one of the trips to Phoenix, and I didn't even think about it at the time because I was just a kid and oh, whatever, I'm experiencing this, but big deal. I went to the store maybe 5 times, I think, but I haven't. I didn't really look back at if it's still there or what. But anyway, there was a pet shop in Phoenix that had monkeys in it, and they had like 5 different kind of monkeys. You could go in there and look at them as like a zoo or something kind of, but you could also buy the monkeys. So I always thought that was awesome. So I always kind of had in the back of my mind, oh yeah, as soon as I get enough money, I'm going to come up here and buy one of these monkeys. And I never did though. It was an awesome shop, and they were, just monkeys. Like you'd walk in the front. As I remember, there was 2 doors, and they were separated by like a gap. And in that gap, you kind of walked in on like at a Sportsman's Warehouse. If you got those, like you walk in either in one side or the other, and in that in between part was where all the monkeys were. So you kind of walked in past the monkeys, and you walked out past the monkeys. Otherwise, it was like just a really big pet shop. And this was before the big box pet shop. So having a giant pet shop was really unique.
So my question is what would you do with a pet monkey?
Oh, what would you not do with a pet monkey? That's literally everything you could ever want. A little servant and a companion and a best friend and a dog and a cat. Plus it's a monkey. So you'd have a bodyguard and you'd have like a servant. You just sit around being like Jabba the Hutt. Everything would be done by monkeys. You'd have to get a big enough monkey to push your cart around, and then a whole bunch of subsequent monkeys to bring you things and push buttons and stuff. And then
I think you've spent a little too much time thinking this one through, GWebs.
Whatever, and that's probably the reason why they don't allow monkeys, because all of us would have our own little monkey empires, and then we'd be fighting with each other. Robot monkeys? That's a whole nother thing. I don't know about that.
Speaking of monkeys, Midnight had one in his chat last night. I happened to stop in there and see it.
I think I would get the kind of monkey that's got a tail. I think it's a spider monkey, right? Where like the one in Indiana Jones that gets killed by eating the date, where he has little clothes on.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of monkey. A couple of those kind of monkeys, and then maybe one of the BJ and the Bear kind of monkeys. I
That
don't
was
like
a
the every which.
chimpanzee, wasn't it?
No, it was the regular kind of ape. I don't like the every which way but loose kind of monkey.
That was an orangutan.
Yeah, those kind of monkeys I don't like. They're mean.
Mean.
They
You're just afraid he would rip your doors off your Cadillac.
Well, I wouldn't want to be mean to other people, and I don't want to have to be I wouldn't have to be like reprimanding my monkey all the time. I'd want nice monkeys so that I could just live in peace with my monkeys.
So basically, what you're saying, you want a monkey you don't have to spank.
I didn't want to have to say it that way, but I didn't want to have to reprimand the monkey. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. We'll just leave that one right there where it's laying.
You want to be able to leave your monkeys around. Like, I need to go over here. No problem. Let me just leave my monkeys because they're responsible monkeys. You don't want to come back and find out that one was mean to somebody. Like,
A guard monkey, basically.
Huh?
A guard monkey.
Well, I'm just saying adorable monkeys. I just don't want mean monkeys. That's all I'm saying. You want them to be like little puppies, not like, I mean, any monkey can be a bodyguard, just like any dog can be a defensive dog, but it doesn't have to look like a pit bull. It could look like a little chihuahua or something and still be effective, or maybe not as effective, but still do the job. So I want little friendly monkeys is all I'm saying. They can be mean if they need to. A friendly monkey can still carry a knife. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have friendly monkeys that'll stab you if they need to.
Well, why don't you take it a step further and get your monkey a single action 45? You know.
Oh, no, I don't know. I think I might draw the line at giving a monkey a gun. A responsible enough old monkey, maybe, but not just like the spider monkeys I'm talking about.
You know,
maybe guns with blanks is a joke, or for like a video or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's responsible to give a bunch of spider monkeys working guns. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't been around enough spider monkeys. Maybe they get mature enough to handle them, but I don't think so. Orangutans, I'm sure, could handle guns. They'd probably be less violent if they had guns. They make you more responsible.
Give them a cowboy rig, drop leg holsters, single action Colts.
A monkey has to have a drop leg because of his long arms.
Yeah, this is true. I don't even think a shoulder holster would work well with a monkey. The arms are just too long.
It'd be good for flying through trees and stuff, though, swinging through vines and
whatnot.
Yeah. I don't know. We're all like it's no big deal, but we got dogs and cats running around doing all kinds of things, helping people, doing things, sniffing stuff for people. Monkeys, just nobody's taking the time, the patience to cultivate a set of recreational monkeys or a species of recreational monkey.
Yeah.
Or a medical monkey. We start with medical monkeys and then eventually work our way to recreational monkeys again once they're culturally acceptable.
Well, and what you do is you start off with the little monkeys and then work your way up to gorillas.
Oh, gorillas, I don't know. I guess. Well, if the little monkeys are cool and they can help transition the communication to the gorillas, then heck yeah. Gorillas they'd fit in our cars and like hang out. It'd be cool.
Yeah, teach them how to cook for you. Right.
It would be like, oh, here, bananas again, thanks. Or like, oh, banana spaghetti, thanks. Or like, oh, banana pizza, thanks.
Now you're crossing lines, GWebs. You do not put bananas on pizzas. Pineapples, yes. Bananas, no.
Cook for you, you're getting bananas on stuff, is all I'm saying. But that's the other part, is the Battle or the Planet of the Apes stuff. I don't know.
If Ozzy Osbourne comes in and says 9th, probably 19th Ozzy. But we'll give you 9 if you really want it. Nobody's going to argue with you.
I think you got the 9th thumb on there. Put up the 9th one.
Mystic Guns, how are you? DJ Play Nice, how are you? We've got quite a few people in here tonight. I'm happy with the results we've had.
So is your goal to do this as an interview show again for a while and have a person on and do this kind of format each week?
Well, the way I'm planning on doing it is like this. I am going to try to do the interviews on Monday nights. I might add another show later in the week. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. Um, as far as the interviews go, I have decided the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to be actively searching out people to do the one-on-ones with, like I am with you. But I'm going to also leave it up to the audience. If there's anybody out there that you would like me to do an interview with, send me an email at theoutlawhatfield.com or Gmail, theoutlawhatfield@gmail.com, excuse me, and let me know who it is you'd like me to do the interview with. I'm up to interview anybody, you know that. Um, I have done quite a few of these. I think I'm fairly apt at it, you know, but if there's anybody out there that you would like for me to do an interview with, let me know. I would love to have your input. Do you happen to have any suggestions there, GWebs?
You're in South Carolina.
Yes.
I think there's a place called South Carolina Grassroots. Let me double check. It's either South Carolina Grassroots or North Carolina Grassroots. And I don't know nothing because I'm over here and there's all those states in between. So I got to listen to a lot of news before I hear stuff about or South Carolina. And you honestly just don't have that much news other than like gun companies coming and going, like factories or something. You guys just aren't having a lot of 2A type of news or violations or infringements or what. So I'm having to look here. I'm typing and talking at the same time. I'm looking for the name of this one, but anyway, it's either North or South Carolina um, gun owners group, and I was aware of them, but then I heard somebody speak at the gun rights. Oh, it's North Carolina. Dang it! But still, I guess you could still interview them. So it's a place called Grassroots, North Carolina, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought something. I can't remember this why, but something about when I heard the guy speak, I was like, oh, I like this. Like this is a good point. And then I was like, who is this? Because half the time I didn't know who was talking, right? I was just listening. So I'm like, oh, this is a good point. Who is this? And then when they said who it is, they said Grassroots North Carolina, and it made me click because I only knew of the group. I didn't know what they did or do or who they are. So it clicked for me twice when I was listening to them, and it just made me think that any people in the Carolinas might talk with them. So I think it's Paul Vallone. I'll send you an email. Doesn't have to remember it, but I don't know the guy or nothing, but that might be interesting just to talk to a state level grassroots 2A people, and they've been around since 1994, so it's not like they're new or nothing. They've been doing this for a long, long time. From what I understand, most of the Carolinas gun stuff or anything that you guys have to ever deal with is usually hunting. Like something affects hunters. Somebody tries to screw with you guys hunting somehow, and then an organization gets created and you guys fight it, and then that becomes your kind of 2A fight because you don't have douchebags coming in and trying to infringe on you like the rest of the country as much.
Not so much, but there are more and more of those showing up.
Yeah, well, that's my impression from way over here too. So
Yeah, there's more and more showing up here. But with that being said, most of the ones that are showing up are coming from other states and bringing their politics with them. So,
Night Strike is saying you guys got South Carolina Firearms.org.
yeah, we do.
I'm on the other.
And
Somebody email me. I'll go grab it. I have to get this on my other computer to use it, but I haven't seen that one before. Thanks.
and there are a couple of guys out on YouTube I would really love to get on the channel and do interviews with. Such being one. I've met Such, great guy. I'd love to get him on the channel at some point. Matt, Military Arms Channel. I'd love to get Mac on here. Um, but their schedules are so hectic that actually setting up a time frame is very difficult.
Yeah, I had to reschedule a flight to Paris and rebook 2 or 3 hotels, but I made it happen.
I appreciate you, GWebs. I truly appreciate you.
I was going to go to a 9mm ammo factory in Paris where they hand engrave each head stamp.
No. Do they actually engrave your name into the bullet itself, or just the case?
Their name, and then the primers, your diamonds.
Cool. Cool. How much would a box of those cost?
I don't think they have to pay as long as you're French. They like hand them out.
I need to get Bill Dundee. That will be a different type of show altogether, Rich. The Monday night show is basically going to be geared toward stuff like this. But hey, if I can get Bill, I'll get Bill. I've been talking to Bill, so me and him has actually shared several messages back and forth over the last several months. But that doesn't guarantee anything.
But just out here in this chat, you got the recommendation to talk to Mystic. Has she ever been interviewed?
I don't know, but I would. If I don't know if Mystic's male or female. I've never spoke with Mystic.
Oh, it's been a while. I didn't even know that. So, yeah, well, there's Mystic, and then Rich White. I would say that would be an interesting interview. I don't think I've ever heard anybody interview Rich before. And then
Rich has been on my channel more than once.
Okay, and then Ozzy with the holsters and stuff. Chat with Ozzy. He makes a bunch of holsters and stuff.
I'm not opposed to any of them. And Rich knows he's more than welcome to be on this channel anytime he decides he wants to. Me and Rich has went back and forth several times. So I've got, I would say, G, that the guys that I have met over at gun channels is some of the best people I've ever met in my life. And most of them I've never met face to face. And, you know, I appreciate you for putting in the time, the effort, the hard work to get that up and going. And I hope and pray that we can get it back in some format in the future.
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for that concept, right? Like a community that brings people together, not based on a specific area of interest or even goal or anything, just basically just being interested in guns or whatever. The channel's part of it. I don't know if that worked, like being a content creator part of it is the focus is necessary, because I think you could do it with just a community thing. But yeah, I mean, there's not really that many challenges, honestly, except for stupid things like cost and just time to fiddle with it or whatever. And coming up with a system to accomplish that isn't difficult. It could easily be accomplished with just a single sponsor, honestly, just a matter of setting it up. But I think it's definitely, like you say, I think it was an awesome experience, and shows that that's I don't know, say necessary, because that's presumptuous, but certainly something that people would be interested in, and could be, could evolve into something that could be more, again, necessary is a bad word, but, more than it was, for sure.
For those of you who are wondering that might not know what Gun Channels was, it was something GWebs come up with for content creators to get together, come up with different ideas. There are so many guys out there on YouTube that got their start from gun channels. Ghost Tactical, Clover Tack, Midnight Range, myself, Night Strike. The list goes on and on and on and on and on.
I think all the people that owe me money.
Yeah, we all owe you millions.
All right, I like this chat. This is a good chat.
Yeah, we owe you millions, GWebs. Millions. Of course, we're all going to declare bankruptcy tomorrow. So
I'll have it for a minute or two. That'll be cool.
Yeah. So we've all decided that instead of paying you, we're just going to file for bankruptcy.
We're going to go out and create a corporation in Hong Kong, borrow money from China, give it to me, and fold.
Yeah, that's an idea. That's an idea.
And then I'll give you half of what's left.
So basically, you're giving me the money that we've given you.
Yeah, we're stealing it from communists, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, I could get behind that plan because I have no problem stealing from communists. Gun Channel sparked the idea of GunTube. This is true. It did. It certainly did. And if YouTube ever does go completely crashing down around the gun channels, guys, GunTube is always an option. And as far as I know, it's still up and running.
Also in South Carolina.
Also, it is in South Carolina, and I just happen to know the guy that runs it.
I just happened to pick up the patches today. They were his second version of GunTube designs were in the package that came in over the weekend.
Oh, that's cool. Speaking of that, GWebs, how's Gear websites doing and your other endeavors?
They exist and they are open, but they have not yet made it possible for me to pay bills, but they are helping.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you hear that? If you want to give GWebs a helping hand, go over to Gear websites. Look at some of the stuff he's offering over there. If you like what you're hearing from G, it's, like I said, he is the godfather of gun channels. He's grassroots as you can get. Help him out a little bit. Buy a patch, buy a pin, buy something.
Well, we talked about earlier, I started doing the cartoon in Tulsa that year, and then been working on basically just taking a picture and drawing on top of it, right? So that I have consistent illustrations for things. And that was for projects. And a portion of those projects is to, accumulate the data into different formats, our two-way history, basically. So I've done the first book was the Shooter's Almanac. So it was our history in a calendar format, like, January, February, so forth. Each day of the week or each day you'd learn a little piece of history. Well, this year it doesn't really lend itself to an almanac. So I took that same amount of information and assembled it by state as opposed to by, a calendar format. So now all the stuff that happened in Montana, all the stuff that happened in South Carolina and so forth. So I got a couple of books up there that are the accumulation of years of data collection and then now illustration and assembly. So there's 5 of those available now, and we print those on the printer that I'm looking at right here, the Xerox in Tucson. So that's all definitely a way to help support, and we do appreciate.
And then there is also your Patreon.
You bet. And everybody here's got a Patreon. That's a way to subscribe to stuff that you think is worth existing. So very much like PBS or a subscription to a magazine. You can say, I'm going to throw $2 in, I'm going to throw $1 in, I'm going to throw $5 in at some kind of a project. And each month they'll just take it out of your account unless you decide to cancel. And yeah, that is what basically has allowed me to exist this year, doing what I'm doing without, a focus on making you buy nothing or pairing up with somebody and trying to always remind you that, you got to buy their coffee or their shirt or something in order for me to exist. Those direct subscriptions like that, a couple of bucks, the majority of the people that support what we're doing are, in at the $1 or $2 level, and that accumulates to a lot. And the best part is that people like Riding Shotgun with Charlie and others in the 2A community are figuring out that that's a potential, and that brings their audiences in. Once people who are reaching different groups of people bring up the idea of crowdfunding, what we bring is more people that are interested in venture capitalizing or being venture capital for 2A. We bring more people in that are interested and able to do that. A lot of people might want to, but I can't throw $20 at everybody I think is valuable. I just don't have that kind of income. But there's people that can drop $200 every time they blink because they're making 50 grand a month. Every money means different stuff to different people, and the more we grow in the direction of working together without the need for industry or state to provide, then we're better, we're stronger, and we're more capable going into the next generations. We provide a better example to the next than simply having our hand out or waiting to be told or allowed to do what we want to do.
Mm-mm. I've said this before, G, and I'm going to say it again here. Um, Guys, if you can only donate $1 or $2 to anybody, you're not going to go wrong donating to GWebs. Like I said, he's as grassroots as they get. He's got his feet on the ground. He's out there. He's doing what he can for 2A and the rest of our constitutional rights. Help the man out. I donate to him personally. Um, I was on Patreon for a while. When I stopped doing YouTube, I shut down my Patreon simply because I didn't feel like it would be right to take money for something that I'm not putting out content to deserve. But what I said at the end was simply, hey, look, the money that you're donating to me, take it, donate it to GWebs. And I stand by that to this day. Um,
Thanks for that.
I appreciate you, G. See, this is the thing, and I kind of get choked up thinking about it. You have done so much for us, and I feel personally that the little bit that we give back to you, you deserve, because you have probably done more than most of us could ever even dream of for the rights of gun owners in this country on that basic ground level where it really counts. You've been on the front lines of all that and still are. Um, and God bless you, Bubba. I hope you're still doing it for the next 30 years.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm still kicking.
Hey, and you know what? As long as you're doing it, I got you back. I will be there for you. So, G, what shows do you have coming up? Anything special? I know you got a nightly show that you do. Do you have anything else that I may not know about?
Tomorrow I'm in the be on Charlie, John Crump's show. Got Charlie on the brain. I'll be on Crump's show tomorrow. He does almost daily interview with 2A folks. So I think I might have been on before, but he reached out, so I'll do that tomorrow. Otherwise, yeah, I do the Daily Gun Show, and mainly I've been working on some books. Working on getting stuff into hands, into getting the 2A history off of the web into those pieces of paper, so that it's just a different form factor, a different method of seeing it, and being able to flip pages on it. So I've been playing a lot with that. I got this new printer, so I can. My biggest hurdle there with the printing was I could do. I had a laser printer, so I could do a black and white draft and see what it looked like. But quite a bit of what I'm doing depends on the color a little bit, like using different color fonts and things like that. And then to be able to test that and to get it anyway, finally got a printer that's decent enough to be able to print out a draft economically. So I've been basically spending my time on that rather than making YouTube videos or anything like that. But whenever anybody's got something to chat about, I'll jump in. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk a bit. Like I say, we just had the gun rights policy, so there's certainly things to talk about. We've got interesting times coming up with the next rally, which will just be interesting to see the community get together and use the tech that we're all completely fluent in. You guys are going to be subject matter experts when you go hang out in these chats with people that are using live stuff for the first time, right? And then, of course, the elections right after that. So lots of interesting stuff happening here. We live in a good time.
Speaking of that, how about sometime after the election, We do another one of these.
Sure, anytime. As long as I'm not
Um,
puking my guts out like I was last Monday, then yeah, I'm down.
let's try to avoid that, man. What did you eat, by the way?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and blame it. I bought this. Is it called Big Boys? That restaurant that has a big fat kid hold a hamburger? That's Big
Yeah,
Boys.
yeah.
Pretty sure.
Shoney's are big boys.
I'm pretty sure that brand has some kind of blue cheese dressing, right? So my normal brand of blue cheese dressing, the kind that I prefer or whatever, was out. So I buy that stuff, and it's in a big jar. And I'm thinking, if they put blue cheese dressing in a jar, like that's got to have big chunks of blue cheese in there. They can't even get it out of a regular sized bottle, right? Like that's got to be a good choice. So what the hell did I eat? I think I ate two sandwiches with some of that on there, like spinach and some of that on there. That was it. Wheat bread, spinach, and some of that dressing, and it got me for a day. I'm pretty sure that's what got me. The cheese wasn't cheese. When I was, let's just say, when I saw it again later, it wasn't cheese coming back out. It was some kind of plastic residue. So I'm pretty sure they used some sort of faux cheese product made out of plastic or something, and my completely natural system rejected it. I don't know,
Let,
but I think it was
let's
from that.
try to avoid that next time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm never buying again, and I threw the rest of the bottle out, even though I'm super cheap. I threw it away.
Mm, Bubba, yeah, but it's okay. We had a pretty good show even without you. Not that we didn't miss you, but
I did not know. I mean, I was not looking at my phone, so yeah, I
uh,
apologize. Not answering texts so yeah, I just started to leave you hanging like that.
well, you know what? It happens. It's not the first time I've had somebody cancel on me, and it won't be the last, and that's perfectly fine. You know what? I have a great fan base out there right now, and anytime I want to have a show, all I got to do is throw a link out in the chat and somebody show up. I have no doubt about that. I will always have a show. It might not be the show that I wanted to have, but I will always have the show. And speaking of shows, Rich, I want to talk to you a little later about something. So hit me up on Facebook if you don't mind. And Mystic Guns, um, shoot me an email. I'd like to set up an interview with you because apparently people think it'd be a good idea.
I can't imagine you two don't know each other. How can you two not know each other?
I just don't know her.
Did Mystic change her name at some point, and you know her as somebody else?
Possibly.
Can somebody
The
else
real
verify?
Matt Murdock verified user.
Can anybody else
Um,
verify? Do these guys? Do they know each other?
I unless I know them as somebody else. No, I don't. Snob's wife. Yep, there we go.
Oh, okay. So I haven't been so used to you being Mystic, I forgot about that. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
so did I. I never knew that you'd changed your names. So yes,
figured there
you
was no
know,
you didn't know each other. That's why I was like, what kind of world am I in where you don't know each other?
I definitely know Snob's wife, and she knows how to get in touch with me. So it's
So now you see why we're saying that would be an interesting interview because I don't think she's ever been on to just be interviewed or talk about stuff. She's got a completely unique perspective watching all y'all be weird in front of the internet as a female who's aware of what's going on.
yeah. So GWebs, you have any final words, Bubba?
Yeah, everybody value your voice. Be aware that we're all drops in a massive flood and we can act with uh, no intent and just drift around and be led by others, or we can all have some sort of foundation and act with intent and move in a direction. And the consequences of that are what we have today, this country and the culture that we've got. Never forget that we're the descendants of the people that created this. Thanks for letting me be on.
Absolutely, GWebs. And basically, what he's saying, people, instead of being a ripple, we could be a tidal wave or a tsunami.
Nice.
Yep. And I think that's what we need to do. GWebs, I appreciate you. I love you, Bubba. Um, like I said before, I got you back. If you're ever in South Carolina and need a place to sleep, you're always welcome here.
Right on. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you all for this love and the support. Thank you for the chats. Dead Horse, I see you out there, Bubba. Good that you're here. We are about to close her up for the night. Um, I'm going to work on next week's show. I'm not sure who we're going to have yet. I'll work on that and I will let you know when I know. If not, I'll think of something. Y'all have a good night. I love you. God bless. Be safe. Bye.